Please, just via chat, let me know that you can see that slide, please. Yeah, thank you. Very good. So the practice of cardiac sonography 3 unit has, as you know, it has 3 modules. There are lectures and tutorials. There are practical activities and case studies, assessments, and a plan. And I hope to talk to you briefly about each of those, but not so briefly that you don't get an idea of things. So the modules, and I don't think really there are any modules that haven't been impacted in some way by the changes that have happened that have affected us all. So image acquisition and measurement, obviously that's been affected significantly. Communicating sonographic findings, yes and no. Professional practice and development obviously is going to be a challenge. Lectures and tutorials. Well, fortunately we can still move ahead with lectures. All lectures will happen online and all tutorials will happen online. So we've just had the congenital heart disease tutorial. Later on today we'll have the reporting congenital heart disease and uncommon findings tutorial. So they'll be available. Obviously you can watch them now and then in the future as well, because they'll be put on the view side. But the practical classes and case studies, they've been delayed, and I can't confirm a date just yet. Let me just let someone else in. Okay. I can't confirm a date yet because we just don't know when we're going to be able to have you come back on campus. My sense is, just from some of the way that administrators are speaking, that if things continue to track well, we might be able to start doing some things within a couple of months. Certainly hope that is the case. With regards to this particular unit, I think it's still important to do what we can. If we're sort of delaying everything, it's only going to make it more difficult for everyone. So the first assessment item, the imaging evaluation, I plan to do as scheduled. Now, I know that many of you may not be currently going into your workplace, but if you can arrange things so that if you haven't started this imaging evaluation, you can at least attend the workplace and get the necessary things, because it won't involve any patient interaction. It does not have to be a new examination. It just has to be one of your examinations that sort of fit in the relatively loose criteria that is needed to complete the examination. Please aim to do the imaging evaluation. I think it's important that we still do it. The written exam, there is some flexibility in terms of that, and it may still be able to go ahead even if there were further delays, but obviously the practical exam and logbook are going to be significantly impacted, and already have been, and I'll get to you some of the things that we need to keep in mind when we're planning for those things. Let me talk a little bit more about the imaging evaluation. This slide is not meant to be read necessarily. I just want to remind you of where to find some things that will help. So the imaging guideline has some details, some brief details about image optimization and how to adjust control settings. And I encourage you to use that, to use textbooks, to discuss things with your supervisor as to how well or how perhaps poorly some of the images that were acquired that you provide in your imaging evaluation are. I hope I'm making sense. So to start with, the first case, as you can see from the learning guide, is a patient with systemic heart disease, and you want to provide parasternal images and apical images. And what you need to do is reflect on and evaluate those images in terms of their 2D quality. So obviously the section within the guideline about 2D imaging is going to be the one of most benefit. Now, not everything in the guideline needs to be included. There may be some things that you've done that aren't necessarily there, but if you use this as a basis, it's certainly a good place to start. There may, for example, be an artifact, and you may want to indicate that there's a rib shadow that, had you moved the patient or adjusted the probe, perhaps could have been improved, or if you needed to change the window. That's just an example of something that's not there for you to draw from the guideline. But I hope the guideline is a good place to start. And then the second case is the case of a patient with an infiltrative disease. And this time the focus is going to be on Doppler images. And I ask you to carefully read the learning guide. I'm not going to go through the learning guide at length here now, but the learning guide makes it quite clear what criteria within Doppler images you need to apply. So there's some color, there's some spectral, etc., images that you need to include. Parasternal images, apical images, technically well-acquired images, technically poorly acquired images. All of it is obviously about reflection, and it's all meant to help you. I think any reflective exercise is the kind of thing that will benefit, be of benefit to you, and I encourage you to do the very best you can with this particular assessment item. I might pause there for just a moment. Does anyone have any questions there? We've just got a couple of minutes. Jump in or via chat. Like the others, if you have a question as you get more involved in it, you can ask me at a later date. A couple more things about what we're planning to do. So within the next couple of days, there will be a survey made available to you. I encourage each and every one of you to complete the survey. It won't be long. It will be half a dozen questions or so. And it's designed to help us understand more clearly where each of you stand. I know that there is no one, of course, who hasn't been impacted in one way or the other, but we want to just get a slightly better understanding of that. The aims being that then we can better plan things because we're a little bit better informed. Furthermore, we can indicate to others within the university and more broadly others like accrediting bodies, what we've done in order to gauge where you're at, and then what we've done in order to move forward. Secondly, there will be additional online content, and we're working to make that available soon. It will be practical activities that we hope that when we're able to finally come on campus, practical activities that will mean that you're very familiar with what's needed. so that when you come on campus, we can just make the most of every moment we have together. And then the decisions, well, the decisions are going to be based on a couple of factors. And they're not all listed here, but what we want is quality, obviously. So we want to provide you with quality teaching. So I hope the tutorial you had today, the ones yesterday, the lecture later on, tutorials that are online are of benefit, of good quality. The fact that they remain on the views site, I hope will be helpful. But what we don't want to do is prevent you from having, the practical activities that are so important. Obviously, ultrasound imaging is a very practical profession, and if we weren't to provide you with any of those that support, I think it would undermine the kind of teaching that we're providing. Secondly, in terms of quality, we want quality outcomes too. So if we're focused on quality teaching, what we want is then to have you guys demonstrate that you understand things well. So we can't just say, well, it's a little bit too hard at the moment. Let's let everyone move on through, because that wouldn't be fair for a number of reasons. It wouldn't be fair on you. It wouldn't be fair on fellow students, patients, etc., the university. So, yeah, I hope I'm being clear. And then, yeah, there are certain things within the university, certain time frames and frameworks that we want to use case by case. We want to apply as much flexibility and creativity as we can to what we're going to be planning. And we'll also be corresponding with ASAR to indicate to them that, well, maybe there'll be a delay. One of the things that could potentially happen is that the mid-semester break is reduced significantly, so that this semester is extended a little bit further to allow for a return to work and that kind of thing. There's a minor delay in the start of the next semester. These are all the things that we're trying to work out at the moment, so as to try and make the most of these challenging circumstances. So anyway, that's what's happening in terms of this unit.